Hello everybody, this is Llodg, and today I am finally back with my first slot series where I play a demo of a game and then talk about it. Today I'm going to be talking about Monark Demo, which recently released on PlayStation 4, 5, and Nintendo Switch. And I'll be playing it on the PlayStation 5 so it hopefully looks the best. And this demo covers the prologue and I think the first whole chapter, though I could be wrong on that. But yeah, if you want to check out this demo for yourself, you can, and it'll even bring over all your progress you did in the demo to the full game. And if I'm correct, I believe that this game is being developed by the developers who previously worked on Shin Megami Tensei and the Persona series. So if I'm comparing this game to Persona 5 a lot, forgive me, as it is the only one of these games I've fully played all the way through. And before we get into it, I just want to say I got a new microphone, and this is the first video I'm using it for, so if my voice is kind of weird, let's blame the microphone and how I didn't set it up correctly. But yeah, let's get right into it. The demo starts out asking you if you want to play in casual mode or not. I chose not because I'm a pro gamer. This will later be seen as a mistake. Then some narrator starts talking about how you need an ego to be you. Then your character wakes up in a pretty cool place with a woman telling you to show your ego. And here the actual gameplay starts. You can move around towards the enemy, and if they are in range, you can attack them. I'll go into the gameplay in more detail later when we can do more than just straight up attack the enemies. But anyway, you go to attack them, then they just straight up destroyed me and made me wish I turned on casual mode. But luckily, you were supposed to die, and the girl on the moon just watches us straight up die. Then a cutscene plays that shows us what I think will eventually be all the main characters, and eventually party members. And then some black and purple magic stuff surrounds the school, and the mist makes all the students who are affected have like massive headaches. But I'll go into exactly what's happening to them a bit later. Then when I think it's a flashback, and don't worry, the exact stuff happening on screen is supposed to happen, or my capture card just really messed up. But anyway, we give the dean of the school our name, and then she asks us a ton of questions about different things to see what our will/desires are. And I really like this since it asks us questions about life that other games with one of these questionnaires wouldn't really ask us. Now the only thing I don't like about this test is how some of the potential answers almost seem the same, but using different wording to differentiate themselves. And it turns out that these questions basically create the stats for your character. And these are your 7 stats, which correlate to the 7 deadly sins and that stuff. These are what I ended up with from these questions. These sets are kind of similar to the ones in Persona 5, but I think they are used more than just to do social links. I really do like how they even give a brief synopsis on what kind of person you are based on what the answers you got, but I imagine you could just take a real personality test and get similar results. Now we return to the present time as we are woken up by 3 people who want us to get away from the mist. We learn that these 3 people's names are Dr. Kakeru, Nozomi, and apparently our little sister Chiyo. I'm not gonna lie, when I was playing this game, I thought there was gonna be some twist that Chiyo wasn't actually her sister, and I guess that could still be true. I don't know, but I didn't really trust this girl, but at least in the demo, as far as I know, she's my sister. I mean, they even mention how our family is weird since we don't have the same last name. I mean, my last name isn't even Japanese. But anyway, it turns out that we have some amnesia, which is a totally new thing for JRPGs to do. But yeah, at least so far, all that means is we don't know who anyone else is, and much like Persona, we sometimes get to choose what to say at certain points in the story. Though sometimes we get like one choice, I'm surprised they even gave it to us. And other times we only get one choice, but it takes up 3 slots, so you can just choose which no you really want to say. And as we are all chatting, trying to catch me up on what's going on, Chiyo gets a random call, which is weird since they apparently don't have any cell service. And when she picks up the call, we all get massive headaches and then get teleported to the same place that we were at the start of the demo. And it turns out Chiyo fainted, so she'll be no help here. And we're not safe here since 2 skeletons from before came to kill us and even injured Dr. Hasegawa. And before the skeletons can finish off the doctor, a portal appears and a mummy bunny comes out of it. And he starts speaking in rhymes and alliteration so that we just straight up grab his ears to make him get to the point of it all. Turns out his name is Vanitas and it helps us awaken our power and have 1,000,000 crystals just start shooting out of me. And then we get this sweet outfit. And I gotta say how all these costumes in the battle system are amazing looking. We also have the power of vanity and get a cool skeleton to fight on our side. And this is where the actual battle system starts up. I'll try to get to the point of the battle system as simply as I can, because if I try to act like I know what's going on, I'm sure I'll just miss something. But anyway, you can move around any of your characters to attack within their circles. And if you have your party near each other, you can have them assist each other when they attack on their turn. So at least it turns having the party essentially attacking an enemy like 9 times in one round. However, if you are in front of an enemy, they can counterattack, and especially in these starting fights, the enemies can do a lot of damage. But you can circumvent this by going behind the enemies. And that's kinda basically all I did once I figured out I could do that. Also, there are 2 gauges, the Mad gauge and the Awakened gauge. I'm not exactly sure what they do in fights, but basically Mad is bad and Awakened is good. After we beat all the enemies, we see a cool music video that seems to be in all these anime demos. But unlike the last game I did this, we still have much more of the game to get through. After that, Act 1 starts. Then we get teleported back to the school and got Chio to the infirmary, and get back down to the first level where there is no mist, and we come into contact with this one guy in a cool white outfit. I just have to say, every other student here is wearing the same uniform. Does this guy just always show up to school wearing this? He really wanted to stand out, I guess. But he basically talks about how much of a better student council president he is than Nozomi, and as we know, the most powerful force in the world are the various student councils in school. This guy's name is Kurama, and all of his followers have like red eyes and kind of sound like robots, which totally isn't suspicious whatsoever. And before Kurama is going to punish Nozomi for not following his order, Sora Jinju, the dean, saves us from whatever he was going to do. And we go back to this room and talk about what happened. Turns out Vanitas is a monarch. Get it? And we made a pact with him to gain an authority. And it also turns out that Sora's family is all about these demon things, so she knows what's going on, and her family has been protecting this school for decades. So I'm sure all this was bound to happen eventually. Sora basically tells us that there must be a pact bearer, basically another one of me in the school, that's causing all this mist to appear, and we need to find them and defeat them to stop all this from happening. And there happens to be at least 7 of them. Huh, that number has appeared somewhere else in this game before. It probably means nothing. Anyway, we agree to help out with this whole situation, because why not? Anyway, as we start to free the school from the mist, Nozomi asks if she can come along because she feels useless, and I'm like, sure, why not? So we get Nozomi as a companion and go to the infirmary to check up on Chio, and see she's doing just fine, and we bring her up to speed. And here's where we create our own club, the True Student Council, or the TSC. I mean, sure, why not? Let's just one-up Kurama in any way possible. Nozomi is announced as president since everyone liked her as student council president before, and we are the vice president. And that is pretty much what the characters will call you, since the voice actors will actually be able to say it. Kinda like how in Persona 5 they just call you Joker even though you have a real name in that game. As we try to get to the second floor, some of Kurama's men are blocking the way, so I go and talk to some of the other students, and it seems like there are many people freaking out and acting out of character. Eventually, Kurama calls a student council meeting and basically starts talking about how he's a savior to all the students that are trapped in the school, and all the students are basically hyping them up. And before we go into the second floor, I go and talk to some of the students, and occasionally they'll offer you a psych test, which is a question like how we got at the start of the game that will add something to your stats depending on how you answered it. And I have to say, I really like these, since I just think they're interesting ways to shape your character throughout the game other than just simply leveling up in battle. Now that the way to the second floor is open, we go up. But before we can make it, we run into this old man who also knows what's up because he is apparently Sora's husband. And at first I was like, did they just make all the women in this game look super young? But apparently even Nozomi thought it was weird too, so that's probably something you find out later in the main game. And now we finally make it up to the second floor. Also at this point, I'm going to be skimming over what's happening because I'm sure this video is already long enough. Anyway, when you are in the mist, you basically have this mad gauge and that'll go up the longer you stay in the mist. And this is basically what's negatively affecting all the other students, like this girl talking to a locker like it's her friend. And as far as I know, it doesn't really matter what it's at until it reaches 100, and when it does, you are immediately sent back to the infirmary for the doctor to basically revive you. And it's honestly more annoying than anything. Also, there are some items that can reduce your mad gauge if need be. When you are in the mist, you basically have to run around and read papers and grab them to progress, and I'll be honest, it doesn't really feel like the best thing to do. Like, you get stopped at this locker, and I had to do something to actually progress. It can feel like I'm aimlessly walking around until the game thinks I'm ready to go forward. Anyway, as we go through the second floor, we find a room empty with a bunch of phones piled up ringing. And when we enter our phone, we get thrown to the fight to free the floor. So yeah, you're basically going to go through the mist, just find phones, and you're good. As we are in the battle, Nozomi wishes she could help, and Vanitas is like, yo, you can. And she does. And she gets this cool outfit, which isn't as cool as ours, but I mean, what is? And now we have our full party that we'll get for the entire demo. Also, before you go into battle, you can adjust your team and even level them up and upgrade your abilities, but I was dumb and thought you needed like 2,000 spirit or whatever to level up, when you really only need to do it to upgrade that certain ability. So until the final fight of the demo, I was level 1, so to say I was struggling was an understatement. And after fighting for my life and even dying because I didn't figure out how to evade counters at the time. By the way, if you do die, you can either retry or get sent back to the infirmary. So not much of a penalty. You can even choose what you want. I cleared the second floor and even the mist disappeared, freeing the students from being trapped within their own minds. After these boss battles, we get a little cutscene like this where basically the pack bearer thinking about what they're doing and why they would do it. Now we're on to the third floor, where this guy Yusuke, no, not the one from Persona 5, is freaked out because his girlfriend is basically mind-controlled by Kurama, but he doesn't know that she's mind-controlled just yet. As we make our way to the 3rd floor, we see, yeah, that was weird. And once we are finally on the 3rd floor, we learn that occasionally we get some random calls, and while it's ringing, if you are near an unsettled person, you will instantly have your mad gauge go up to 100, and it will send you back. Or you can answer the call and fight some super powerful enemies. And when I say that, I really mean it, because I'm not sure how I'd be able to fight these guys even if I did level up correctly. Also, later on, I got a call right when I was right next to someone and had no time to react, which was not fair, but, you know, whatever. But you are able to give a random number a call when Vinicius tells you can, and these enemies are actually fair to fight, and seems to be the only way to get some battles in between the actual main boss fights. But anyway, after struggling through the 3rd floor and to find the code to the locker, and we finally make it to the phones. And here, we fight some more enemies. Still at level 1, and after 2 tries, we make it through, since I didn't have every single enemy attack me at once. After talking to Nozumu for a bit, we go back to the 1st floor and meet up with Kurama again, and we learn that he is a pact bearer. Surprise, surprise. And he is mind-controlling all the students to follow him, and he actually tries to mind-control us, but of course, we are also a pact bearer, so we can just break through and get a ton of nodes to choose from, which is cool. And before we can have any meaningful battle with him, Yusuke comes out with a knife and straight up stabs Kurama, and then we just let Kurama walk away because I guess we can't do anything unless we are in the other world. So we finally make our way to the rooftop and see that Yusuke has been brainwashed too. And after getting reset because of the random phone calls, all these students jumping off the roof. I'm not sure if it's just an illusion or what because it's not brought up, but it's super creepy messaging for what the mist is doing at least. But we finally make it to the phones, and on the other world we see Kurama looking at a crystal. And for some reason he doesn't have any blood stains on his full white suit, so I guess Yusuke was a terrible stabber. And after talking to him for a bit, he has his Monarch, which is a scroll, and we fight him in a pretty hard boss battle. Except, it was at this point that I finally understood how to level up, and all I had to do was click up. Yep, this was seriously all I had to do. These boss battles could have been so much easier, but nope, I made it hard on myself for no reason. Anyway, let's fight. And after struggling through the basic enemies and using up all my items and doing the behind the enemy tactic over and over again, I got hit by the enemy Monarch and survived with 2 health left. Yep, that level up basically saved me. So pro tip, please level up if you want to do well. And with that, we finally finished the boss battle and essentially the demo. Yeah, I really like the demo overall. I was kind of skeptical going in because I haven't seen too many trailers of the game. Also, I didn't know what the combat was with this game at all, and at first I was not liking it too much, but as you level up, you get more options, and I really like positioning all your characters in different places to get really satisfying combos. Also, the music in this game is pretty good. I really like the music while you fight the boss. It was so pumped up. That's what... And the music when you are exploring the school is cool. It really fits this thing well enough, I think. I think the visuals are pretty nice too, especially how the other world is visually distinct from the normal school. That's something I do have to say is, I'm assuming the entire story will take place in the school, and like you could go to like the gym and other school buildings, but I'm afraid that unlike other RPGs, there won't be too much visually different to not make it boring. And I'm scared that it could become visually boring as you're just going through school hallways. But hey, what do I know? They could do something very interesting with it. Also, another part that I kind of disliked about the demo was that the actual like going from finding all the clues and stuff to get to the phones, I thought was probably the worst part of the game. Just because I felt like I was kind of looking around for these little sparkles and picking them up and being like, okay, where to go next? Oh, you won't let me through? I guess I gotta struggle through. I don't know. I think if there was something else, like if you were able to do random battles that weren't impossible, it could help it out a little bit, but you really don't get much to do other than just walk around. And I think that's the worst part of the game, and maybe later they'll expand it because it's just the first act and they don't want to make it too good, I guess. But as of right now, I think that is the worst part of the game, which is good because the other parts I think are phenomenal. And I really liked all the characters, and I also really liked how sometimes they'll just talk to each other without you having to do anything. It makes the game feel more real, I guess. And yeah, those are pretty much all my thoughts on the game. I think it's super cool and much more interesting than I originally thought it was going to be, and I'm super excited for this actual game to be released. It definitely has a tone that's very different from the other RPGs I've been playing recently. And it comes out on these dates, and it honestly took me too long to realize that ANZ meant Australia and New Zealand, which is just kind of sad. But yeah, if you want to watch my other First Thoughts videos, you can. Hopefully you see it on screen. If you don't, then future me just screwed up. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you have a good day, and goodbye.